begin today with a prayer from the Book of Common Prayer. And today I am going to pray for this parish church on page 817. Page 817 at the bottom of the page. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ, our Lord. So I told you today that we are going to spend a little bit of time, most of today actually, talking about Trinity Church and the ways in which Trinity, you could say it's a number of ways, shows up for the gospel, so to say. And I have some information to share with you. Some of you, I haven't gotten through this yet. I'm trying to do it specifically to each one of you. I'm writing to you to talk about the confirmation and reception and welcoming day on Sunday, May 14th. And so some of you have gotten an email from me. Some of you have not. I think all of you will by the end of tomorrow, I hope. I have not necessarily read your response yet, if you did respond to me, and I will read it before tomorrow. Let me just talk about that day for a little bit. And there's a number of aspects to it. So on the 14th, our bishop is going to be here for his annual visitation to Trinity. And in the Episcopal Church, it's only the bishop who is able to either confirm or receive officially into the church members into the church. So we take the opportunity to let everyone know that. So we're doing a couple of things on that day. And for those of you who have been in this class, there's a couple of opportunities. So let me just describe those. First of all, we want to welcome everyone who's new to Trinity and who has said, at this point in stage in my journey of life and in my faith life, I want to count Trinity as my home. So we will be inviting all those for whom that applies to, even if they haven't been in this class. On that day, we'll simply ask those who are new to Trinity to stand, and so we can recognize them and welcome them. So we want to at least do that. For those of you who've been in this class, I want to invite you, if that also applies to you. You have a number of different ways that we can do this. For mostly to be received into the church, if you're already, let me stop. This is why it's a little confusing. If you're already a member of the Episcopal Church and have been from another congregation and you're coming into this congregation, then simply what I would invite you to do is to renew your baptismal vows on that day. And it's a way of us to be able to say welcome to this congregation, right? So I do invite those who have been part of the Episcopal Church previously and are simply transferring their membership to Trinity to that on May 14th. If you're coming from a different denomination into Trinity, I invite you to be received into the church. Now, the only differences here are the words that the bishop uses. The actions are all the same, no matter what you might do, right? So to be received into the church, if you've been baptized and you've made an adult proclamation of faith in a different denomination, be it Presbyterianism or Episcopal or Lutheran or whatever, Baptist, whatever it might be, to be received into the church on that day. We will have some of our younger members being confirmed on that day. The idea being that they've never had an opportunity to make an adult proclamation of their faith. So we call that confirmation, if you will. All of the words are very similar. To be received, the bishop says, we recognize that you are a member of Christ's church and that we welcome you into this, body of the faithful at this point. So that is what I'm writing about when I write to you by email to invite you to participate on May 14th. It's really a great welcoming opportunity in the life of the church. And for you, if you wish to have a moment to renew your own either place in this tradition or faith, if you will, on that day. Now, if I see a couple of faces out here who have been a member of the Episcopal Church and this church forever and ever, and if by taking this class, you feel moved to renew your baptismal vows, let me know that, and that would be wonderful. But if not, that's okay. That's okay.
Can I give our church a compliment? The Episcopal Church occasionally can do that.
Yeah.
You used to have to be confirmed in the Episcopal Church, even if you had been confirmed with the Presbyterian or one of these other.
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
And you only received another denomination, but I suppose that's all.
Yes.
So for that to be extended to members of those other churches, you don't have to be confirmed. That confirmation to it, you're being received by other people.
Yeah.
I think is a welcome development within the church.
Yes, it used to be that everyone needed to be confirmed except for Roman Catholics because we recognize their apostolic succession. But now what we do is we say when you come before the bishop, whether he's using the words that are in the prayer book for confirmation or using the words that are in the prayer book for being received, and even using the words that are in the prayer book for renewing your baptismal vows, is all to be considered equally as coming under the hands of the bishop, so to say. So I don't have to worry now whether or not you're a former Roman Catholic or not, and all of those aspects. So thank you. Thank you. Any questions about May 14th? It does. Yes, so if you're a part of that day, I'll be back in touch with you, talk about the details. We will all sit together and we'll come up and stand or kneel, depending on if it's okay to stand now. I feel like it's a challenge before the bishop, and he'll either take your hands to receive or baptismal vows. He just takes your hands for confirmation or reception. He lays his hands on your forehead and welcomes you and anoints you with oil. The baptism of children is going to happen just before that. Big day. Yeah. All right. So if you, Annie, please.
It might apply to someone else. So I'm just gonna ask it. But Charlie, he may choose to want to be received in the church. I don't know that he's ready for baptism yet. But you've got a person who's making the choice to be a part of this experience, but they're not really ready. He's not old enough for confirmation yet.
Right.
So I'm not really sure where he would fit into that.
You have to be baptized first before you're
right.
Yes. So we'll talk. I'll talk to you.
No, okay, yeah. I'm wondering if it had a communal interest, if anybody else had a like that.
Any other questions?
But as far as the main thing, there's not a place for that to fit in.
I started with the welcome our new members.
Okay.
That would be where the welcome, if someone's in a moment ready to be, or receive or confirm. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions about May 14th? Yeah. Good question, good question, good question. Yes and no, it should. I mean, one would think that if we have full communion with another denomination, that there would be some recognition of that. I think the recognition here would be for those who are in full communion, which is only the Lutheran Church and the Moravian Church. Then renewing your baptismal vows would be the option, because it's the deepest form of recognizing that you already are, you know, confirmed and so on and so forth. So, thank you. Well, perfect.
So,
Yeah, so renewing one's baptismal vows would be the way to do that. Great. Any other questions about that day? Great. I'm still writing, so if you haven't heard from me yet, you will. And if you've replied, I probably haven't read your reply just yet. My assistant, Joe, has been out with a hip replacement, so I'm struggling to keep up. Which is not a critique, it's just, if I haven't replied to you, just know that I will. All right, well, let me just talk a little bit about Trinity Church. I've got a couple of things I want to share with you. First of all, I want to share, I don't know if I have enough of these, but this is also on our website, a list of ministry opportunities. I'm going to split these up, Van. I want to just review with you ways to be a part of life at Trinity. There's all different types of ways to be a part of life here at Trinity. And I just want to be sure you are able to see this, and where does this read through it. Encourage you to think of any ministry you would like. You feel, I prefer to say you feel called to be a part of. Any ministries you feel called to be a part of. And if you have, this should be up to date with the individual who leads the particular ministry that you may feel called to be a part of, and you should be able to contact them directly. But certainly I'm happy to facilitate that in any way. But there's many different ways to be part of the ministry at the church. And I just want to be able to answer any questions that you may have. And I specifically want to go over any outreach ministries that are going on here at Trinity. Any questions about that? Ministries at the church? Anything you've been thinking of, or has anyone have any questions about?
Well, I'm glad to see the Garden Guild has been updated, because I wanted to join the Garden Guild, and I talked to somebody here, it may have been Joe, and she said, we don't have anybody in charge of that right now. And
well, this is probably not the most up to date. We didn't have anybody in charge of it. It is being reorganized, and so don't despair.
well, it's got emails and phone numbers of.
Yes, but
Garden Guild.
maybe added.
Oh, okay.
Announcing how that's being recognized.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Anything else?
I think the art guild is today.
Does it say Diane's name? Yeah, no, it's not up to date. It's Nancy Swan. It's her name. Nancy Swan. The art guild. Yeah.
It's in there, and you can do the round.com, get into the directory.
The person to call there's a person to call. So call at the church and ask for that person. And we are now going to be setting up a couple of classes about that. I'm glad you asked that question. You are either going to think one of two things. Well, you could think more than one. The two things that I think are the most prevalent is I don't need another app on my phone. I don't care what you say. I ain't doing it. I respect that. At the same time, I do want you to know that we do have an for our database kind of management system that is not just about name, address, and telephone number and email address. Once you are in that system, you can get access to a directory of the church, a picture directory of the church. You remember the old picture directories we used to do? We don't do that anymore. And so you can get access to a picture directory of the church. You can see a listing of all events that are coming up in the church very easily, including anything that you would register for. And you can just click and register for it. And actually, if there's a fee or a donation amount with it, you can pay for it right there. And then if this is of interest to you, it may not be of interest to you, and it's okay. Another button, and you can see all your giving history to the church right there. And anything you ever gave to the church, at least, except for cash you may have put in the plate. And we can't capture that unless you put it in an envelope with your name on it. We can capture cash, but you have to have your in an envelope with your name on it. Yeah. Yeah.
The monies that are collected on Sundays,
Yes.
is that designated differently than we officially?
Great question. The question is, the money that we collect in the plate on Sundays, is that connected to our official giving to the church? It is if it's a check, then it would.
How you're using.
Yeah, I'm going to go over that. Yes, but let me answer this question because I think that it is a question for people. If it's a check and we know your name is attached to it, it will go into your giving record. If you put in a $100 bill or $500 bills, no. No, if you put a $1 bill in an envelope with your name on it and put it in the plate on Sunday, we will connect it to your giving. It will show up in your giving record. But if the plate comes by and you put a $5 bill in, of course, we don't know who did that, and it won't get connected to your giving record. You can also, if you make a pledge to Trinity Church, you can ask for envelopes, and Dylan Manley will give you a box of envelopes, an envelope for every single Sunday, and you have your own special number on it, and we can designate, we can find you that way as well. And some people really appreciate that giving pattern and the kind of physicality of having an envelope that they bring each week to put in. I can't run my financial life like that anymore. So we also have automated giving as well, as you are familiar with all the other aspects of your giving life at Trinity. Yeah, Sarah. Yeah. Sure. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I get it. I get it. Don't worry about it. And if the something like the app doesn't work for you, I hope that anything I say doesn't feel like I'm shaming you. I don't intend to do that, but I do want people to know that we're likely going to increase our use of this method of communicating. Many of you can remember the days where the church you were a part of mailed something in the US mail every single week to all of the households. We're not in a position to do that anymore. It's quite expensive. It's a lot of paper. We're trying to cut down on paper. If you say to me, if you call the church office and say, I can't do anything electronic, we do have a way to set you up to send some things to you through the US mail on a regular basis, so that we can work hard to try to do that. Yeah,
I think part of her question was, and I'm sorry, what happens to the loose change?
yeah,
in the-
I'm gonna
You're
get
gonna
there.
there.
I'm gonna get there. Any questions about that?
What's the name of the phone app?
It's Realm is the app.
Creating an account and who's the contact?
Yes, call here to the church office to Ken Wilson and he will help you. But so for example, there's the running list of events that are going on. I should bring it up online. So this is if you're a part of a group, say you're on our outreach team, there's the person who's leading that team, there's a chat feature on this and communicates with the whole team through that. And if you're not on it, you'll get the email for it. So you won't be left out, but there is an ease of communication on this. Yeah. Tim.
I love that app. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
When I pull up the app for events,
Yes.
it's showing things that were 3 or 4 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
Do I need to update? There's something I need?
No, I just had an hour-long conversation with this company about this, and there's no way for us to change that until a new event goes above it. And so this is why we're probably going to lean into using this even more, because if we're not putting everything in there, then old stuff is showing up.
I didn't want to need to push update.
No, you would think that. You would think that. Yeah, okay, that's that piece. All right, so I do want to go over, if you turn in that one I just handed out. If you go, I guess this is not the pages are not numbered, so this is be very helpful. Go 1, 2 pages in at the bottom of the page, it says outreach and mission. Outreach and mission. I want to, yeah, this is not updated. Totally updated. Some of it's correct, some of it's not. I want to go over some outreach aspects in the life of the church. So we have a very active outreach ministry. This is the term that we use mostly in the Episcopal Church for mission, if you will. If you're from another denomination, you might hear that word be more of the word that's used for this aspect of Christian life, kind of how do we reach out to our neighbors in need? Are we present for our neighbors in need? So mission and or outreach or the same. In our tradition, outreach, not by any definition, but just by some level, for some reason, by tradition, outreach tends to mean kind of local ministries in our own neighborhood, in our own city and area, and mission tends to only be kind of further out, if you will, both national and international, if you will. So that's how those two terms kind of are used, not because that's exactly what they mean, but how they have been used in our own tradition. So Trinity has been deeply involved in the life of this community from really its founding. There's a number of ministries that you're all familiar with in the life of not just this community, but other communities, but that Trinity was part of bringing to this area. Everything from Meals on Wheels back in the 70s, members of Trinity helped begin the chapter of Meals on Wheels here in this area, to Habitat for Humanity. Members of Trinity were fundamental in bringing Habitat for Humanity back in the 70s to this area. Episcopal Legal Services, the same, a local legal services organization members of Trinity were on the ground floor of starting Episcopal Legal Services. So we have a deep history. There's a history. I mean, in the end, members of Trinity were involved in beginning Mission Hospital. And the story told is that, you know, the little flower for Mission Hospital, it was members of the Flower Guild who helped to start Mission Hospital. So deep history in the life of Trinity in being part of the community. And that still exists in many, many different ways. So some of those ministries are here. The first ministry, really service agency to the homeless of Asheville started in this space. Well, it started at Pritchard Park, but quickly came to this space by the Episcopal Church, and it still happens and will happen this afternoon. It's called the Church of the Advocate. It's a separate congregation of the Episcopal Church Diocese that meets here at Trinity for worship, a Eucharist using this altar over here, and then a meal that happens. There is a wellness closet or basics closet, and there's a shoe closet. There is a Bible study that happens on Tuesdays, and that ministry continues. The oldest AA group in the city of Asheville is still going on, was started and in this space that you're in right now and still meets in this space. There are AA groups that meet nearly every morning and every evening. Maybe not every day. There's a couple of days that they don't meet here in this space during the week. In the end, between Sunday to Sunday, this space that you're in right now probably sees on the order of 700 to 1,200 people each week using this space for ministries of need in this community. Over the course of Sunday to Sunday, we would just have the opportunity to look at this. There's probably 2,500 to 3,500 people that are in this campus area in some way, when we include worship on Sunday, for example. Trinity is one of the lead partners in the Episcopal Church's Habitat for Humanity program here in Asheville. Every other year, the Episcopal churches of this area build a habitat home. So you will hear it, I think, coming up this, not this coming summer, but I guess the next summer, we will be building another habitat home. So in the 70s, Trinity purchased a house across the street to be used as a shelter for runaway teenagers that had to be out of their home because it wasn't a safe place for them to be. That ministry ran for 30 years until last year, when the group that was leading it informed us that they were going to stop doing it. So right now, the vestry has a discernment team that is hard at work looking for another partner to reopen Trinity Place across the street. And we've got a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks with a number of partners who may be interested. These ministries have become deeply very hard to lead without some major kind of government oversight. Whereas the government used to give a lot of grace to a volunteer agency doing stuff like this, it no longer, maybe this is a good thing, it no longer does. You have to have really specifically trained people to do an overnight shelter for teenagers. And that staff is very difficult to find, very difficult to get funding for, very difficult to maintain these days. We can't volunteer and say, oh, I'll spend the night. They won't allow it. And so it's not that, we can't even just muster the strength to do it that way. So, but it's been a major part of Trinity's ministry over the course of our last 30 years as well.
Yeah. Question. I know at least people who have some background, not necessarily with teens, but people who have addiction and other problems in residential facilities. Is there a point in time where you would expect the vestry to be interested in talking to people about that? Because that would be the point in time in which I would pass that information on.
Yeah, right now, the vestry is only concerned with reopening Trinity for its same exact mission, if it's possible. So we're exploring, is that possible? And there's a couple of partners that we're going to be talking to with that possibility alone. If in the end what we find out is it's not possible, then we'll go to plan B. What are the other ways in which we feel called for that space to be being utilized? Yeah.
I would also like to be kept up on what
Okay.
because of other people.
Okay. All right. I can't promise I'll remember that, Sarah, so you'll have to ask me. You'll have to ask me. I want to, as part of our life together, one of our values here at Trinity Church is transparency, including financial transparency. And so just know that all members of Trinity Church are authorized to call Dylan Manley and ask her any questions you have about the financial life of Trinity Church. And she will let you know what that is. She doesn't have to come and ask me first. Can I tell Jerry, what we spent on outreach, and where we spent it? Yes, you can. You don't have to call me to tell Jerry that, that information. So, yeah.
Question related to services and committee in there.
Yeah.
How does Lake Logan fit into as a ministry, or is it a standalone?
Yeah.
Good
Good question. The question is about our diocese, and we have two diocesan conference centers. One of them is Lake Logan, which you've heard of, which is in Canton. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then another one is in Valley Cruces, outside of Boone. Also very, very beautiful. Both of those are diocesan-owned properties and ministries. So the extent to which Trinity donates a portion of our income to our diocese is the way that we participate there. We also have volunteers, lots of volunteers that go out to Lake Logan and volunteer at Lake Logan. Is that helpful? What I'm handing out now is one of our other principles on the vestry is that we tithe 10% of all donations, all pledges, all tithes that come to Trinity Church. We tithe them to outreach. So what I'm giving you is a outline of what that looks like. An outline of what that looks like. The ministries that we support. Our outreach team is actually working on modifying we have focus areas that we focus on: shelter, food, education, and I forget what the last one is. Mental health, I believe. So you will see some of the ministries that we support through our budget. 10% goes to these organizations. What do you need? You need more? Oh, okay. All right. So I just wanted you to have why don't you bring those up, Catherine? An idea of what that looked like. Now, this does not capture many other ways, financial donations that Trinity is a part of. So for example, what it doesn't capture is, Dylan just told me that we have sent on the order of $16,000 to Episcopal Relief and Development for the Ukraine relief. If we were to monetize all of the red bag Sundays that you all participate in each year, each quarter, if we were to monetize the Christmas gifts that we provide for children through communities and schools here at Christmas time, for example, if we were to monetize many of those aspects, then you would see a different level of numbers there, right? If we were to monetize, for example, Trinity Place operated at $1, right? Although we could probably rent that out in downtown Asheville on the order of $30,000 to $40,000 a year. So you get where I'm going with this. There's in-kind contribution, and then this just relates to our value of tithing, the donations and the tithes that you make to Trinity Church, so that you know that 10% of your gift to Trinity Church is being utilized in this fashion, not only in this fashion, but in at least in this fashion. Yeah, Laura.
And acting a lot. For Sunday. Might on their check, right, to go to the fund.
Yeah.
Or any of the cash.
Right.
Will go to that, and that's not counted in overall outreach budget, but usually those designated Sundays are also supported by the out.
Right, yeah, Sunday when we have the special service for the. And all of the money.
All of that money,
All of
we
that
send
money was-
$2,500 to the shelter in West. Yeah, yeah. This is really not the most helpful document, but I'm going to hand it out anyway. I want you to see Trinity's financial health, if you will. So this is not the document I wanted to hand out, and I don't think this is going to be very helpful because it's just convoluted. It's a convoluted financial document, but I'm just going to do that. The monies that are put in the plate on Sunday, the cash offering, goes into what we just call open offering. So we have revenue that comes into the church. We have your gifts, your tithe, your pledges, and then we have open offering that is part of that. Trinity has some, until just last year, Trinity had some endowment, and I want to explain that to you. Until just last year, we had, even though we're the oldest Episcopal church in this area and a pretty older, long-standing congregation, we only had about $250,000 of unreserved funds. Funds that were not designated for a specific purpose. We have we are the beneficiary of funds that are held for us at the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina to the order of about $1.5 million. Anybody who knows this type of field, you know, though, that that's not actually our money. We just get the income from that money each year. So theoretically, if you're an accountant in the room, you know that theoretically, we really shouldn't call that our endowment because it's not money we can borrow against, that we could make decisions on how to use. We get just a little bit of influence on how it's invested. There's about $1.2 million that's unrestricted. The rest is restricted to about $250,000 is restricted to music, and about $100,000 is restricted to outreach. So those are those funds. We have about $1 million worth of funds that's invested with our portfolio manager at Parsec that are temporarily restricted funds. Those are funds that are designated to be used, right, for a specific purpose, even though the donor hasn't restricted the donation further than that. So, for example, we have this beautiful memorial garden over here that if you wish to have your final resting place being in our memorial garden, people make a donation of about $500 to rest in our memorial garden. And all of those donations have built up to about $30,000 or so. We can't spend it on something else, but we don't necessarily need it right now. So that's a temporarily restricted fund, right? So we have all types of temporarily restricted funds, from flowers for the altar to music events to youth events where there was an extra $200 from that event or something. You know, we have all these temporarily restricted funds that add up to about $500,000 or $600,000, and that's invested at our Parsec investments. And then we have a capital fund, a legacy fund, so that people have left money to Trinity in their will, and that is restricted to only capital needs, and that is about $250,000. Actually, it's now up to about $300,000. And then, yeah, Tina. That's in a temporarily restricted fund called memorials. And those funds are used, well, first, if the family asks for something to be done at the church with it, that's considered. Sometimes they ask for something to be done that we don't need. And so we try to work with the family. If nothing is requested, then I think there's about $30,000 in that fund right now. And so if we need something new for the altar, a new vestment or something like that, those are the types of things that are used for memorials. Last year, Trinity was given by God's gracious gift, an unrestricted gift of $1.2 million that has been added to our endowment.
Like from an anonymous.
From an anonymous gift.
Wow.
So it was a real blessing. And so that's why I kept on saying until last year. As you might know, though, it came at a time where it's we haven't used any of it yet because there's no income from it yet. There's no income from it yet. But that type of thing does give a congregation more freedom to not necessarily just use it. Our vestry has designated that those funds are going to, we will only be using the income from those funds, and that 10% of that income will go to outreach. Yeah.
Question, the 70,000 from outreach, I think you said that was 10% of, is that the pledges and offerings?
Pledges.
Pledges, okay.
Pledges.
Yeah, it's strictly the pledges, the other sources of income are not considered.
Right.
Is that like a 3-year running average?
No, it's each year.
Okay, so you look at the last year, we're looking forward to the next.
We go on this year. So at December 31st, when the vestry sets the budget for 2023, then in January, February, the outreach sets the gifts. Mhm. Yes. Yes, there is. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So another tradition in the Episcopal Church is that a rector will have what's called a discretionary fund. And often something along the lines of the 5th Sunday of the month or something like this of any month, any open offering on a Sunday morning would go to the discretionary fund, and the rector uses those funds for the needs, the people in need, either people who come to the door, individuals that the rector knows about who are in need, members of the parish who are in need. There's a number of people that I'm supporting, a number of children in therapy, for example, who need some assistance in that way, and things such as that. In addition, Trinity has a trust fund that is for that purpose as well. We receive about $5,000 or $6,000 a year from that trust fund. It's called the Ann Perry Carr Fund, left by Ann Perry Carr, who until very recently, a stepson was a very large member here. Yes.
Got a quick question about last year. We did the pledge campaign.
Yes.
I don't remember. Maybe it's been published. How did we do with that?
Yeah. Well, we're writing that up to share with you all. So each year in the Episcopal Church, you may be have traditions, a different tradition, or if you're in a different denomination, churches, denominations do these things differently, but we do have an annual campaign or pledge campaign where we invite all members to make it's really mostly an estimate of giving is really what it is. In the next year, I am estimating that I would give this much to Trinity Church. And then the vestry can then set a budget according to that. Last year, the pledges that you all gave to Trinity Church totaled $1,330,000, which was about a 10% increase from the year before. So it was a real amazing blessing. When I came to Trinity, that number was about $680,000.
Never a rector made fun of us because our budget being below $1 billion for church inside.
Oh, if you all, we do have other sources of income.
Without vision, the people will perish.
Yes, yeah, thank you. We do have other sources of income, a little bit from endowment, as I explained. And then we do get income from our parking lot. And when I came to Trinity, that had just started 10 years ago. Those of you who've been in Asheville that long know how different downtown is just in 10 years. There was barely anybody in the parking lot. I think we made about $12,000 or $15,000 on the parking lot. And this year we are on track to probably have $100,000 of income from the parking lot. Parking's at a premium downtown, and we have probably the most parking spaces of almost any organization downtown, outside of being connected to a parking garage or something. Sunday mornings, you do not need to worry about Sunday mornings. It's not checked on Sunday mornings. It's checked every other time. So members of Trinity do get a sticker for your car. You can call Jan Hildebrand here at Trinity to get yours, if you're a member. And we still ask you all as members to know that if you come down to go to dinner at nighttime, if you don't pay for that space, somebody else would have. That income really has allowed us to keep, to this principle of the 10% to outreach. And but here's the deal. And, this I will say I'm proud of our budget at Trinity, which is now by about $1.3 million. Of our budget at Trinity, about 86% comes from you making the decision each and every year to make a gift or a pledge. And what I'm proud of, I would say, not that it's all me, but I am proud, is that many Episcopal churches of this age and size, 50% of the budget comes from endowment. Not from the individuals each and every year sitting down and making the decision. I love this place. I love to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it this way as well. And so that I am proud of. The thing I want to say about pledging and making a pledge is that it's between you and God. And whatever it might be, right? I'll have somebody say to me, I'm not in a position to make a pledge. When every Sunday they do put money in the plate, which at the end of the year might total $500. That's a pledge. Put it down on a piece of paper and let us know. And then you can see as well. Whatever it might be is a pledge, is a gift, and I just think that's the most important thing to know. Yes, we do have a kind of the Christian tradition writ large is 10%, right? But it's very difficult for most of us to be there. So start somewhere. Just figure out what that percentage is in your life. If it's 1% of your income, or if it's 0.5% of your income, just know it and say, okay. And maybe the next year it would be 0.6%. It's all a blessing. Hands.
I was a little bit off of it, varies from there, but you said we have like 1.3 in pledges. 1 minute.
No, the budget is about 1.3. It would, but we do that off of pledges. Yeah, because the income we get from endowment is often designated for purpose. Yeah.
Curious how we support the Church of the Advocate, if it has a separate organizational structure and leadership, and
Yeah.
very interested in.
So the Church of the Advocate is a separate congregation because because of its uniqueness. It has a board of advisors. We have interim clergy at the moment, though we're getting ready to look for a full-time clergy person to lead that ministry. It's not in the list that you have because the vestry designates specifically right now $25,000 that goes toward the Church of the Advocate each year. So it's still part of our outreach and not included in that number. But the vestry wanted to be sure it supported this ministry. So what you have in front of you is what our outreach team makes decisions about. But the vestry, before that money went to the outreach team, just said, we are definitely giving this $25,000 to the Church of the Advocate. So that's how we support it. It does have a board of advisors and volunteers. And if anybody wants to volunteer with the Church of the Advocate, I hope that you might consider that. Yeah, Anne.
Would you mind saying a word about Appalachian Regional?
Yeah, so a number of years ago, the vestry said, felt a call to how can we continue to reach out to those around us, maybe not just this neighborhood and maybe not just overseas. How are we being called, and with kind of a hands-on ministry? We have ways that what you have before you is kind of financial support. We do have deep relationships that are hands-on with a number of these ministries, such as Meals on Wheels, Habitat for Humanity, Manna Food Bank. We have volunteers going to Manna Food Bank, to Meals on Wheels, so on and so forth. And a discernment team came together, worked on this, how we were being called, and we ended up being called to serve with, not for, but with the people of Graham County. And we're working with the Methodist Church in Graham County and some other partners in Graham County to be present. Graham County is one of the highest poverty rates in our state. If you want to be involved in that ministry as well, please contact Tom Goodrich. Lynn.
Quick trivia question. No, we're new, would love a parking sticker.
Yes.
Keep reading. They're not available yet, you know, in the new.
Oh.
Wonder, should I just go for one of those old ones? Or should I wait one?
Yeah, you can do either one. We're going to be getting the new ones in soon. Good question. I don't think I know. Here's the deal with those. Jan Hildebrand, Jan, here at Trinity Church. Call her up. Ask her. She'll know when they're. She'll know when.
Or do we just need to pick them up? Or
I
do we
think
have
it'll
to
be
be
mailed
mailed?
to people who already have one,
Okay,
maybe not the people who don't already.
I mean, could you do a system and just have people pick up the?
I don't know. I'm gonna stop, but. Yes, if you don't have a name, do me a favor, because I do need to go up to worship. Call here at the church. Just call, right now, because Joe is out with her hip, call Robin McNeil here at the church. Leave a message, send an email, Robin, ROBYN @trinityasheville.org. And ask her for a name tag and you will get one. Pamela's just arrived and was on the board. Yeah. Thank you.